bum 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 bum. Good morning. Welcome to Kioski with Rob. Wait, yeah. So, just a brief little thing today. Some thoughts I had. No, I'm not going to gloat on the whole no collusion thing. I've been saying it for 2.5 years. Not because I'm a fan of Donald Trump, but because I am an opponent of lies, a fan of truth. And when people are telling lies and I can debunk them, I do. I've lost a great number of friends because of this. I'm alienated from a lot of people. I get funny looks everywhere I go in my town. But I was right. So here's another thing I'm probably right about. In fact, I'd say I am right about. Lindsey Graham talking about the rule of law. Tom Fitton talks about the rule of law. I've actually spoken on the rule of law several times. I do not necessarily believe that laws have innate power. They are vibrations in the air. They are thoughts in the mind, which are, brain chemicals swishing around. They're dopamine patterns, right? They are ink on wood pulp paper, right? But here's the thing: in order for a group of any animals or whatever else to exist together peacefully, or at least without completely self-destructing, right? The purpose of life seems to be to survive and reproduce. I mean, even in religious creationist types, right? Go forth and multiply. What the fuck do you think that means, right? So here's the thing: the rule of law is null and void unless it is applied fairly and evenly. What I mean by this is, as I've said oftentimes in the past, as long as Hillary Clinton walks around free, unprosecuted, there is no rule of law. Pretty much everything that Donald Trump was accused of was perpetrated by people on her camp, herself, or folks in her name. But take it back a little bit. Look at more than just that. Look at Carter Page, FISA application, the what is being called FISA abuse. I would say that's probably an apt term. Looking at NSA wiretapping, looking at how they skated around things to make it possible to surveil someone without officially surveilling them. Well, Carter Page was standing within 10 feet of Donald Trump, so we just went ahead and monitored Carter Page, and we caught everything Trump said. Okay, cool, but I mean, come on, seriously? If you got something against the guy, you get a fucking warrant against the guy. So the other thing is, that if they can do that to Donald Trump, they can do that to anybody else, right? If they can surveil anyone in the name of surveilling someone else that they might have contact with, or make some shit up, there's no basis for anything that they thought. It was known from the start. There were internal memos that got leaked. Anybody who actually paid attention and did the research and was skeptical knew that it was completely bogus. It wasn't even like you needed like direct proof, via what am I trying to say? Like they had the supposed intel memos that got released, and they didn't contain any actual information. It was literally they had typed it up and sent it out and acted like it was real. It's possible to debunk those things without having direct evidence, like I have keystroke logs on the computer of what time they saved this file, and it's all fake. We already knew it was bullshit. Anybody who could read that has any critical thinking skills could tell that it was bogus. The people that didn't have critical thinking skills, the people who abdicated or had taken from them their self-awareness, literally looked at a square. It was just a little square, about that big, on a page of a PDF of a report that claimed to be from, what was it, the House Intel Committee report? It was the first. No. It was the first Intel report that was OD and I had put out. They had, oh, this is the one that used the high degree of confidence and moderately sure or whatever the vague terms and whatnot. But what happened is there was a little square space in there, and there was a graph, and this graph did not present points of data. It presented a gradient of colors, and it was just your basic. Somebody copied the picture of the gradient from like MS Paint or something, and put that in, and that was supposed to be. I actually had people. A dude I went to school with specifically did this to me. I screen capped it and said, "What do you see there?" And he says, "I see data on a graph." And I said, "Okay, I see a gradient with no points of data and no key to the graph and no explanation as to what this gradient means." He says, "Well, I see lines on a graph." I screenshotted it. It's still there. It's still just a gradient. What I'm getting at is that it's actually something that was in the Bible. It's a Jesus thing. My dad was a pastor. I know all about the fucking Bible. Jesus said, "How you treat the least of us is how you treat me." Speaking of himself, in the idea of that here you have this divine, perfect being, Son of God or God, depending on how you look at it, right? And that how you treat whoever you consider to be the least, the scummiest, the dirtiest, the worst. How you treat them is still how you're willing to treat him, right? That's what that's supposed to mean. But I take it another way, that there is a broader application to it, that how any authority treats who they consider to be the least. And a lot of people consider Donald Trump to be the least. Or at least for some reason they believe that they do. They've been told to think that, right? Excuse me. So if they can do that to him, they can do that to any of us. This is the problem with the rule of law. This is why the people that perpetrated the FISA abuse, the people that perpetrated the wiretap surveillance, the people that made up the Trump dossier, the people that paid for the Trump dossier, the people that, you know where the list goes, right? I mean, it's basically the top probably third of the Democratic Party, like power players. They're lawyers. These private firms, by the way, the group that supposedly third-party investigated the forensics on the DNC server in such a way that the Federal Bureau of Investigations opted not to go look at it, the name of that group was CrowdStrike. Y'all remember what CrowdStrike means? We're looking at it all around us. You get on YouTube, you watch people get a shitload of downvotes and community guideline strikes for no reason, right? That's called a CrowdStrike. Who uses this method? That's the Alinsky method. That is the leftists. That is the Democratic Socialists. That is the Democratic Party. They use those techniques. They literally, in the mainstream news 2 years ago, when they said, "Oh, we got our server hacked, the information was stolen," the only thing that can be said is that information was stolen, because the forensics on the actual files that were stolen indicate a thumb drive or some other type of localized storage. Not online, not over the international internet to another country in Europe. Simply not forensically possible, okay? These were independent forensics that were conducted, but the results of the forensics were released. CrowdStrike has yet to release anything other than, it was definitely the Russians. Coming from a company whose name literally means what they do. Nobody really seemed to pick up on that. So anyways, I would really, really like to see some sort of justice for the people that have manipulated and abused all of us for 2 years. Not just, libel cases and things like that, but there's some serious sedition and attempting to incite a coup that really needs to be dealt with. Not to mention the election fraud on the Democrats' part. I know that the Bernie Sanders aspect of it is not, it's actually pretty cut and dried that there's no way they're going to ever win that case about defrauding Sanders voters, because they're not going to. So, but I do want to see the people that perpetrated this, the people, we're talking the media, the pundits, the fake news reporters, political operatives, the spies. All of these people need to be prosecuted. I know the Q movement always talks about the whole Gitmo thing. They're not going to go there. It's not going to be like that at all. But these people need to be held accountable, because if they don't, any of the rest of us, it's the that unfortunate uh, consequence, unforeseen consequences thing of a backflash, right? Where what's good for the goose is good for the gander works both ways. So if there is no rule of law, there is no rule of law. If those people can walk around committing heinous crimes that demand, federal penitentiary no less than 5 years, or in some cases possibly a death penalty, if those people are just walking around not being charged, then what authority does any other law enforcement or legislator have over any of us, right? Because if they can do it to anyone else, they can do it to us. But if other people can do it and get away with it, we can do it and get away with it. And the second that an officially established two-tier legal system exists is the day that we revolt against the government. Not because it's anarchy, not because we need to destroy America. It's because they are destroying America and we need to save America. So anyways, it's been 11 minutes. End of rant. But remember that. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And how you treat any person that you don't like might as well, think of it as it could be your mom if you're not a religious person. It could be, your own child. It could be anyone that you care about. How you treat the least person in your mind is how you probably would treat someone else in a similar situation that you otherwise care about. But it all comes down to equality, the evenness between sides of things. That now that there's been a 2-year-long complete waste of time with no results, we need to take all of the people that wasted 2 years of our time to task. Not just verbally, legally. These people continuing to move about the country free of their own volition, not felons, able to vote, right, able to register with political parties. It would be as if nothing had been done to solve the problem, which means come the next election, or maybe the one after that, literally all of this would repeat. So that's what I got. It's been an interesting day. Very interesting. I've been laughing a lot.